Thanks to all the hardworking drivers across the U.S. from the Allen Len Company.
Welcome to Trucking with OOIDA. I'm Ashley Blackford.
And I'm Scott Thompson.
And we are joined by Tyson Fisher and Mark Schremmer of Landline Magazine. And before we dive into much of the news of the day, week, months,
news, all the news. We're going to hit all the news.
It is National... I want to say Nintendo Day, but I know Nintendo is like a specific brand.
Yeah. You're the perfect person to cue this up because you clearly are in tune with
I mean, how are you celebrating? Because you seem really into
it. That's what it is.
Isn't it video game day?
Yeah, video game day. National Video Game Day. Yeah. So
welcome.
Yes,
we don't have
welcome.
We have a nice. We have a couple Switch 2s for you on your way out as parting gifts.
Oh, sweet. That's excellent.
PS5. If you're so inclined.
I think I stopped at the Sega Genesis. So if you get,
I think like a Super Nintendo is my last one.
Do we have Sonic Hedgehog?
Really?
I was never good. I sucked at video games so hard.
Really?
I just never really played.
You don't have to be good at them though to enjoy them.
It's not fun when you're not.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's true.
Well, this is different because this is back in the days where it was just like a linear game. You didn't have that interactive thing to where like open world stuff. Like that sounds cool now.
Yeah.
Didn't have that because
like Final Fantasy and all that stuff.
So
you can get into it now.
I can probably get into it now. I just don't. No, I don't have time. So
yeah. Mark, you're not a video gamer either.
I like the sports games. I actually
Madden.
did play. I did play Madden on PlayStation and that sort of thing. And then obviously Super Mario Brothers and all that stuff.
Sure.
Tecmo Bowl, Bo Jackson, Unstoppable.
I was just gonna say. As coming from the Raiders fan, that probably felt pretty good.
That was the one time that it felt good to be a Raiders fan.
Yeah. I do the same thing. I'll play Madden, play some Fortnite. My son's always playing on his computer though, the different games, the Roblox games, and that's the kind of the way I think kids are going now.
I think one of the biggest adjustments in moving to America from Canada, I would say Super Mario. I was quickly corrected by my husband.
Is that a Canadian thing or is that an Ashley thing?
I don't know if that's a Canadian thing or a Ashley thing.
Okay.
But I think Mario that's a name. Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah, it's a name.
I think it might be a Canadian. I don't know.
Yeah. Mario.
So how do you say his brother's name?
Luigi?
There you go. Yeah, we're all on that.
But that's where I stopped. And actually, a couple years for Christmas, I got like a handheld one. And it was
a Game Boy.
No, not a Game Boy. It's like a
Switch.
It's similar.
One of those,
not
like,
a Switch.
Knockoff,
no, it's
one of those knockoff ones.
Yeah. And anyway, I beat it. I think a couple years ago when I went to Matt's, I was pumped. I was on the way home in the van. Everyone's asleep, and I'm like, I just beat this.
We got a lot of questions about why Ashley was in the corner of the Kentucky Expo, just playing video games.
Yeah. No, it was in the car.
It's also National High Five and Hug Day.
So we're all going to give each other a hug.
Okay. How'd that go in 2020?
Yeah. Both things I think would have been frowned upon.
It was the Air Five, National Air Five Day. Wasn't that a thing for a while there during the pandemic? Like Air Fives? Was that a thing? Am I making that up?
I feel like fist bumps.
That's for fist bumps,
Fist bumps, that's how they started?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Bash Brothers.
Oh, sure.
Oakland days back in the day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show for today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. No, well, you said that, Ashley. We've got a lot of news to get to, so we should probably get to it here. And we're going to try to cover as many bases as we can. Obviously, Ashley, you and I talk about the news pretty often here, but Tyson and Mark live it. They're living it.
Yes.
They're breathing it.
Breathing it, yes.
They're on their phones, not playing video games at
I think
midnight.
I need to see my doctor if I'm breathing it.
We're going to talk. This is actually an intervention, Mark. If you could just go have a seat over there, and we're all going to give our testimony. No, let's start with the highway bill, because this is something that we have talked about numerous times. I know you have covered it in numerous ways, Mark. I think it's important, though, before we kind of talk about some of these issues that are popping up and will continue to pop up over the coming months. Again, we talk about the highway bill a lot. I don't think we talk enough about what it means, what the implications are, and why I think we talk about it so much, because it really is something that can shape years upon years of policy, right?
Oh,
100%. And with trucking, this is a huge deal.
So back at I believe it was a Senate hearing not too long ago, OIDA Executive Vice President Louis Pugh referred to the highway bill as the Super Bowl of trucking. And I suggest that actually is kind of underselling it, because it's really like if a Super Bowl was only played once every 5 years.
It's like the World Cup.
Yeah.
But plus,
we were the rest of the
one
world. More year.
If we were the rest of the world that actually
it's like Olympics plus one.
Soccer,
yeah.
But every 5 years,
and we will in Kansas City next year.
That's right. That's right.
But so it is a huge deal. It sets so many policies and really kind of the agenda of what DOT is going to have to do in the next administration. They're going to kind of set the tone and those policies, whether there's going to be new mandates and all of these sort of things, coming across. This highway bill does it. And I understand that when I write about it, people look at and they probably see that, that it's expiring in September of 2026. And think,
a year from now.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's a year from now. But all of these things, all of the groundwork, all of the work from OIDA and also from opposing groups on certain issues such as ATA or Transportation Intermediaries Association or some of the truck safety groups, things that they might want. That's all being done now and really for the past year. And so we see all of these standalone bills that usually aren't going to make it on their own.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons they're introduced is for a time like this, because maybe, the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act, it has not passed as a standalone bill, but this is a perfect time to attach it. That same thing for bills that you might not want, like increase to truck size and weight. It's a perfect time to just attach it, in this gigantic bill that I doubt anybody actually reads from cover to cover, but
we've had lawmakers admit to not reading the bills cover to cover.
So it really, it does. You really can't undersell how important it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we're a year away, but these conversations are happening now. And to your point, those conversations aren't just, in rooms like this. They are the lobbyists for different groups that are talking to lawmakers and lawmakers' staff, and they're kind of trying to grease the skids here to get their stuff
and
going.
ATA and some of those groups, the mega carriers, have been telling for years and years that there's a driver shortage, which is why they need A, B, and C, need all of these certain things like increasing truck size and weights or lowering the driving age to 18 for interstate, all of these sort of things. So they are working behind the scenes right now, and they have been for years on issues like this.
And truck parking, Tyson, obviously this is what you live and breathe.
It is.
It's truck parking. And we've talked a lot about truck parking in the past couple of weeks for a different reason here. But Mark, you mentioned the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act. We have seen momentum in the past. How many times has the bill been reintroduced now? 3, maybe 2 times?
I think 3.
At least 3,
At
if
least
not
3.
4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've seen it reintroduce, and every time it feels like it picks up a little more momentum and a few more co-sponsors and more people know about it. But really, to Mark's point, this is the easiest glide path to getting that into law.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's just like anything in Congress or for any topic, which is it's just so hard to pass individual bills. It's just, the wheels of government turn ever so slowly, as we are aware. So as you pointed out, the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act, each year it just gets more and more prominent, more people sign on. It gets further along the process for the individual bill. It never quite gets to the finish line. And so, yes, something like this, the highway bill, like this is it, this is a great opportunity. And the way to get it done is just how we do with individual bills, is you contact your lawmakers who's saying, hey, this can be included in this package that you'll be considering. So maybe, maybe do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, these are the points that OIDA has been making too, right? In comments as well on the issues that they want to see passed. And there are a lot of issues. I forget how long the comment was that OIDA sent. I think it was long.
Yeah,
right?
maybe 14 pages, 18
Yeah,
pages, something.
I think that's what I read
like
on landline.media. Yeah.
I did read that cover to cover.
Yes,
by
I
the way.
know.
Yeah.
I know you did. I know. We read your blog. I know. We know. Yeah. So, I mean, this is something obviously that OIDA is going to be working on here for the next several months. and we'll see. But to your point, put some pressure on these people.
Yep.
Yeah,
if you can.
and I will say, because I know we mentioned some of the opposing groups on here. This is one that's nice that we do have so many groups that are all saying, whether it's truck safety groups or saying that we need more truck parking, ATA, TIA, like pretty much every group out there that you would think that involved in trucking realizes that this is a major issue and need.
Yep, for sure.
Let's get into a road rumor going around, brought upon for good reason regarding the state of Nebraska and the country of Kenya, and an agreement and tie-in with trucking. Tyson, what is the story with that?
There's a lot to unpack here. So, I mean, a lot of this started on social media, where there was kind of just rumors that, that the state of Nebraska signing a deal with Kenya to bring in truck drivers from there. So, long story short, that's not exactly what happened, but it's not far from what happened. So real quick, let's go back to last year. Here's what we do know, okay? So we do know that last year, some government officials from Kenya did meet with Werner at Werner headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska. Werner has acknowledged that. What they had told me in the statement that we received from them is that that was part of a standard trade mission visit. No commitments were made. There was basically nothing happened from that meeting. They just had a discussion and that was it. Since that meeting, nothing has happened since. So, but that did happen last year. That brings us to what happened very recently, where the Secretary of State in Nebraska did in fact sign a memorandum of understanding with Kenya dealing with basically like a sort of like a labor agreement. It wasn't just labor, it was a cultural thing. There's a thing, I don't know if you're familiar, called diaspora. If you're not familiar with that is basically the spreading of a country's population away from their homeland. So in this case, Kenyans going to America or elsewhere to start their life or whatever. So there's this huge movement in Kenya to do that, and Nebraska is just taking kind of a part of that movement. It's trade, it's cultural, it's a lot of things. But here's one thing it is not. It does not explicitly mention truck drivers in the Memorandum of Understanding.
Which is what the rumors kind of alluded to.
Which is exactly what the rumors are doing. But then, because Werner had a meeting with Kenyan officials last year, people are connecting those dots. It's exactly right. That's it is very coincidental. I would admit that. It looks that way. It absolutely does. But from what I've heard from Werner is that, yes, they had the meeting last year, but nothing came of it. Yes, that memorandum of understanding was signed by the state and the country, but Werner said they had no part of that whatsoever, like none. Like they weren't even consulted with that, But yes, truck drivers are not mentioned. So where the confusion gets, confusing is that so local news sources in Kenya are reporting that the discussions that were happening during that meeting, that this memorandum of understanding was meant to target truck drivers. So I guess
to bring them over,
and to train them, and then of course CDL. Following all immigration laws, visa laws, CDL laws. I mean, all that would be followed, but to have some pathway for Kenyan truck drivers to, drive here in America, specifically to fill Nebraskan truck driving jobs, and this is all based on the idea. That's where
we're going.
This is based on the idea that there is a truck driver shortage, which, these, this is all based on the news sources in Kenya, but they're saying that, they're saying there's a truck driver shortage. They have they have said that the Secretary of State has suggested there is a driver shortage in Nebraska, at least. So that's kind of where the confusion gets in. But again, this was all based on discussions that were had during the meeting. The memorandum itself does not mention truck drivers. So now there's a question of, well, is the, it's the behind the scenes thing, or is it
handshake agreement or something?
Or is the intent, I guess, of the MOU is to bring in truck drivers. Now, everyone's denying that. First of all, Werner is not involved with the MOU, okay? But for those who are involved, I'm still waiting to hear back from the Kenyan officials, but I have heard back from the Secretary of State. And basically what they're telling me is that, again, this is an agricultural thing, like the agricultural industry as a whole, not necessarily truck drivers. They did not dismiss, or they did not say that, truck drivers would not be targeted. Yeah. They're just saying that that's not necessarily what the MOU says. And so they're not denying it. They're not confirming it. It could be a possibility. The only person who's denying any involvement, of course, is Werner. Yeah. And they have said, as a matter of fact, go back to to social media, I think Derek Leathers is his name. He's the CEO. He has explicitly said that basically he said we did not, do not, and will not work to bring drivers in from foreign countries on visas or otherwise. So pretty much a very firm statement. It's like, we are not doing this.
The timing of this rumor and this MOU, this memorandum of understanding, really could not have come at a, I guess, less convenient time,
Right.
or less, charged atmosphere, or more charged atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? But that strikes me that this one story, and we talked about this before, Mark.
Yeah.
About just the internet and social media, and how you've got one story, and it seems like Kenya, the media in Kenya have kind of picked up on this and kind of started this ball rolling, right?
Yeah.
But it has taken on a different life on social media because there are so many conversations out there about this, and a lot of emotion.
Yeah, I mean, it's very multi-layered, and again, a lot of it makes I can completely understand how some of these conclusions have been drawn. You know, 'cause a lot of the dots seem to connect, but when I really dig into it, it doesn't look to be that way. Now, again, this MOU absolutely could be used to recruit truck drivers. Werner may not do it, but that doesn't mean anyone else, another carrier in Nebraska, couldn't do it. And again, Nebraska's not denying that it could be used for that. So, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this has nothing to do with truck drivers. That's just certainly not true. It's just that officially it's not explicitly targeting truck drivers. But again, we'll see how it works out, because, if this catches a fire and, you have the Secretary of State's kind of under pressure, especially considering the political environment when it comes to immigration. He's a Republican, there's a whole lot of layers here. This can go any which way. But again, what we do know is truck drivers not explicitly targeted, although it seems from local media reports in Kenya that was an important part of the discussion that was being had. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a reminder, check verified sources with this, because initially we saw the story, and there were links to internet sites in Kenya that were reporting it. And you've got to do some due diligence and figure out,
dig a little deeper.
Dig deeper and try to figure out what actually is going on. Yeah. And Tyson, to your credit, that's what you do. And you do it well.
And
you do it very well.
And he breathes it.
And he lives it. He breathes it.
I mostly ate this one.
You mostly ate this one? All right. That's good to know. We'll ask how it tasted, I guess, later. But let's get into not breaking news. The DataQ system. It is broken, Mark Schremmer.
Yeah, I like to make that into a smoothie.
All right, sounds good. A DataQ smoothie. Yeah. All right, very good. To FMCSA's credit, they're looking at this issue. They're listening to people. They're getting feedback about how to improve this. We do have some new developments on this, but the process itself continues to chug along.
Yeah, and they had taken comments in, and OID has stayed pretty firm in its stance that you said that the process is broken. They give some credit to the agency for trying to fix it, but a big complaint, and then you hear from individual drivers as well, is the appeals process. And we've talked about it before, of this idea that if, just think if our court system worked that way. You thought a judge gave you a bad ruling, so you go to the appeals court, and they're sitting in front of you, the same judge.
Yeah.
And wait a second. What do we think they're going to say? And they're like, yeah, well, what?
Do they have a twin? Is this their twin? Even that seems unfair.
But that is what has happened with the DataQ. A lot of the times is the person that issued the original ticket. When you go for the appeal, it's the same person going, no, there's a reason I issued the ticket, and they just do the same thing. Yeah. So obviously, that is not a good process. It's one of the many reasons that it is broken. And I think, this just, I think maybe a complete overhaul would probably be good. But I think, right now the agency is kind of doing kind of baby steps, the process to make it better.
Yeah, and I suppose the question is, what does that look like? And we don't really know at this point.
No, they don't. They don't have everything, mapped out. I mean, I think we got a series of comments in here recently, and they will. And I can't remember because there's so many different comment periods that we've had lately. I'm trying to remember the amount. I know on the highway bill we just had close to 3,000
that's a lot.
on this one, but they will go through. They will take all of these comments, and I think they'll use them to kind of figure out what it's going to look like.
Yeah, OIDA has been on this train for quite a while. They did file, the association did file comments and
Sure.
essentially said kind of what you're talking about there, that the system is broken and calling for an overhaul.
Yeah.
But any other highlights from the comments there that kind of stood out to you?
No. I mean, like I said, I think it's basically just creating fairness in the process. If a driver thinks that they had a bad report, or sometimes there's inconsistency with it, it needs to be done faster, more timely. We need to fix it, and we need to create a fair process for them to be looked at and get those bad reports out of there.
Yeah.
Switching over to tariffs, they were on, off, then they were on, and then they were off.
Then they were on.
And now the
Now
courts
maybe they're off.
are throwing some more uncertainty on the whole thing. We had a federal appeals court at one point ruling that the president's tariffs policy was unlawful, but the Supreme Court will have the final say. Tyson, where are we with all this?
Oh boy, yeah.
Solve this for us, Tyson.
Oh sure, yeah, it's very easy.
Okay.
So yes, as you mentioned, the latest news is that the a federal appeals court has upheld the lower court's decision finding that certain tariffs are unlawful. So specifically, it is the tariffs that were imposed on Canada, China, and Mexico, and then the big universal reciprocal tariffs. So basically, the bulk of the tariffs. The ones that are not affected are some like the tariffs that are set specifically on industries or materials, like the vehicle one, steel and aluminum. Those are unaffected by it, but the big ones. I mean, so that really matters here. So yeah, they decided it's unlawful. So that's where we're at. It does not stop the tariffs, and so the court's decision was that although we find it to be unlawful, we cannot have a nationwide injunction, and that's because on a different case, the Supreme Court kind of ruled that universal injunctions should be very limited. So they are ongoing right now. So the tariffs are intact, right? But the stage has been set to where they might get struck down. So yeah, where are we at? The Supreme Court is where we're at. They have agreed to, not only have they agreed to hear the case, but they are also expediting it. They will hear oral arguments in like the first week in November, I think. That is an extraordinarily fast pace for the Supreme Court to do anything. That's really worth noting. So the Supreme Court finds this to be a pretty important thing to address, and I agree, it really is. And so we're back in a holding pattern, which is kind of where we've been since, I don't know, March at least.
At least, yeah.
So, to your point, it's been on again, off again, on again, off again. So it's like, how does this affect the freight market is another question. And I think that some of the people who I've talked to says this won't do much to affect the freight market because at this point in time, the markets, the businesses, we are so accustomed.
They've adjusted to the uncertainty and
the one thing that is, this is kind of a weird statement. The one thing that is certain is the uncertainty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's deep.
So,
Sure.
Yeah.
So think about that.
Death, taxes, and
uncertainty.
The uncertainty. Okay.
Tariffs, yeah. But they have adjusted. I think most businesses, like they have done all the front loading that they can do, and they just know that it can change at the flip of a hat. So they've adjusted to that reality. Whatever happens in November, so whatever whatever the Supreme Court decides, I mean, that might be it. That might allow businesses to make decisions weeks and months in a year or above to plan accordingly. So that uncertainty might stop with the Supreme Court in November.
You need to probably bold and italicize and underline the word might in that sentence.
Right.
Because
Well,
I don't
for
think
real.
we don't have any idea as to, number one, what they're going to rule, but I don't think we have any idea what it's going to look like either way, based on what they decide. Obviously, if they decide to uphold it, I think it's a pretty safe bet that the tariffs will remain in place the way they are. If they rule against it, I'm not sure that there aren't other mechanisms that the administration is going to try to use to impose those tariffs.
And there are. So, I mean, just real quick, the
Yeah.
controversies around a law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, those tariffs are
Light reading.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Those IEPA is how
IEPA.
Is how
I like
it's-
that.
Is that better?
I like that.
IEPA?
Yeah.
There you go.
IEPA.
They should have cheers. Yeah.
But it is based on that, and Trump is the first president in the 50 years of IEPA to ever invoke or to impose tariffs using that. And so, if it gets struck down based on IEPA,
That is fun to say.
It's very fun to say.
then yes, there could be another way he could implement these tariffs. But as they're being implemented right now, could be unconstitutional. We'll see. But yeah, it could add more uncertainty. We just don't know. But it could. I don't know. We'll hold off judgment until November. Until then, from now through November, tariffs are in place. Businesses can adjust accordingly.
You might say the situation is we're in a state of uncertainty.
Uncertainty. I might have to use that word
You might have
sometime.
to use that word,
Yeah, I was thinking, during the pandemic, the word that was used all the time was unprecedented. But now we've shifted to from unprecedented to
Actually,
uncertain.
we've talked about that before. We always talk about
word of the year.
Yeah, like Merriam-Webster comes out with the the words of the year that kind of have
This year has to be tariffs.
tariffs.
I mean, it has to be.
And uncertainty too. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I think tariffs probably more so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah.
Also,
And
how many people have had this year Googled tariffs? Not us, but like
yeah.
other people.
Oh, I've
not
Googled
knowing,
tariffs.
Not knowing
I'm
what
guilty
they
of that,
are.
too.
haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now I'm going to Google.
I knew what a tariff was.
I'm going to
Erase
Google
my-
IEPA after this.
I am
me,
good. Yeah, I'm definitely Googling IEPA.
IEPA.
Yeah.
That sounds like a
I like
video
it.
game phrase
It
to tie
does.
it back to our National Video Game Day.
See, I'm
IEPA.
glad I'm
IEPA.
here to talk about it because I'm doing it in print. I never got to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Do
That
other
was-
people
that
say
was
it?
fun.
You didn't realize how much fun it was.
Do
Right?
other people say it like that, or did you actually make that
I
up?
think I
Tyson?
heard it once. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing that if I ever get to talk about it.
IEPA.
Yeah.
Well, we
Here
just
you are.
made your wish come true. We're going to make another wish of yours come true after this short commercial break, Tyson and Mark. I don't know what that wish is going to be. But
Super
we'll-
Bowl?
Sure. We'll see. We'll put in a few calls. But we're going to talk about a few more things, including some of the uncertainty having an effect on the markets, an exemption request, a national security threat. We've got a long list here. Tyson Fisher and Mark Schremmer return right after this break.
Welcome back to Trucking with OOIDA. Here with Tyson Fisher, Mark Schremmer, and of course, Scott Thompson.
Here I am. Hi.
I do have to wonder how often we're going to use IEPA
IEPA.
over the next few days.
IEPA.
It's sticking
quite a bit,
It's
yeah.
got a nice ring to it.
I'm heading out to IEPA this weekend to get some Swedish meatballs.
Is that a festival concert, the IEPA?
The IEPA? No, it's a furniture store. You've been there before, haven't you?
Sure.
And so you got the furniture you have to build yourself, and they give you the one Allen wrench. It's supposed to take
a
care of
little
all
confusing.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll go together.
Anyway,
All right. Guess that's a no.
to continue our talk in uncertainty, we're going to hop on over to the latest job numbers. Tyson, what are those looking like?
They're down a little bit. So yeah, the government, the employment data for truck drivers specifically, it's been up and down all year, and it kind of ties into what we just talked about, which was the tariffs. And so there is some correlation here. It seems to be somewhat tied to it. But yeah, in August, 1,000 truck drivers were removed from the workforce. We would think that there would be more sustained loss since there's been cries of kind of we're over capacity as far as the driver market goes, but we haven't seen that. And the reason why we haven't seen that is the tariffs are certainly part of it. So when the tariffs were announced, as I mentioned, businesses were front loading import inventory, which caused a huge surge in demand for truck drivers. And so I think like 8,000 truck drivers were added in March, which is a huge surge, right? But then after all, the tariffs started to die down, all those truck drivers that we added, we lost some of them, but then the tariffs came back on again, and so we got them back. So it's been this up and down thing. But August was kind of normal, relatively speaking. It was normal in that it was only about 1,000, which, it's not a lot, so it's kind of like it's a normal fluctuation in the post-summer surge of freight. So we usually see that. But not only that, so I talked to David Spencer. He's the vice president of market intelligence at Arrive Logistics. Far smarter guy than me when it comes to economics and stuff like that. He said, there was higher summertime rates. You got steady diesel prices. There was less tariff volatility at the time. It was just kind of like a nice calm in August is basically what it was. So that's the good news with that employment report. The bad news, kind of looking forward, and again, I was talking to David Spencer about this. He said that what he's hearing at the ground level is that there is that near term, the demand seems to be not there. So we're just got a much weakened demand in the near term. So because of that, we can see, trucking jobs go down in the coming months. So probably September, October, maybe. But then you have peak season coming up.
Yeah. That'll be the big. That's going to tell us a lot, right?
I know, absolutely will. And so with peak season come up, that will bring, jobs back up. So basically what he's saying is this volatility that we've been experiencing over the past several months because of tariffs, we might see again because of just the fluctuations of normal seasonal fluctuations,
Right.
And well, then we talked about this too, what might happen with the Supreme Court in November. You combine that with peak season, I mean, any number of things can happen, coming up. And I think that was his main takeaway here, which is that, yes, we saw a nice normal month that we haven't seen in a long time. Do not get used to that because basically it's what it was. Yeah, it was nice while it lasted. But, there's so many variables coming up ahead to where that volatility is probably going to persist through the end of the year. But looking even further ahead, with when can we see some sustained normalcy? A lot of people are predicting that second quarter-ish, 2026, we might see some significant sustained relief from the Great Freight Recession.
That would be nice.
It would be. It would be fantastic.
Can we put that in stone?
No.
No?
Since we were told second quarter of this year, or before that.
Oh, I'm reminded of, exactly.
Yeah.
It was even before that.
Yeah,
it was,
sure.
Yeah.
It was the end of 2024 at one point, and
then it moved to the second quarter of 2025. I think it was even before that.
Yeah.
I think the forecast for 2023 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
you heard it here first. Tyson
There
said
you
by
go.
the second
Terrible
quarter.
weatherman out there.
I said it.
Yeah.
That is my prediction.
That is famed economist Tyson Fisher's assessment there. Yeah, no, it again, not to keep beating this drum, but the uncertainty out there, I think, is weighing on a lot of people, even if they don't know it as much. But we'll keep an eye on that. Something that we should talk about is the regulatory agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, this is something that comes out. It's supposed to come out every. You're laughing because it's supposed to come out every. Was it 6 months? Right?
Yeah. So basically, there's a fall one and there's a spring one.
Yes.
And right now, I don't even know this, but we're basically in the fall.
Almost.
Yeah, pretty much
Right.
fall, September.
A few days away.
The leaves will die soon.
All right. On that uplifting note.
And at that time.
It's an interesting way to put that, Mark. The leaves will die soon. Let's go to IEPA.
And that is certain, though.
That is certain. Okay,
the
good.
leaves will
it's good
die
to have
soon.
some certainty. I like that.
But now we have our spring regulatory agenda. So
just came out.
So they're only, basically 6 months behind. But that's, again, as Tyson was saying earlier, the government moves slow. Another thing that is certain. So I'm bringing certainty.
Well, and also, in all fairness, a new administration,
Of course,
trying to get the lay of the land and figure out what's what. So there's some. I understand it a little bit.
There's some of it, but this is a little further back. I was kind of joking. Were we going to be winter before the spring one came out and stuff? So, in my story, to eliminate that confusion, I just refer to it as the latest regulatory agenda, because it does make it seem odd. But what we have here, if we're starting with kind of the Department of Transportation, one of the things with this new administration is how many deregulatory items that are out of this. So normally what we're seeing under the regulatory agenda is all these things that they're going to make truckers or make, the industry have to do. And at least on here, a lot of these are going to be trying to roll back ones that already were on, or take a step back on a few of them that were going forward. And then also, we talked about all those really kind of small ones, like making sure you had your, ELD manual, in
the cab,
and all that sort of stuff. Basically things that they said weren't directly tied to safety.
Sure.
They're removing those as well. But what this does, we talk about the highway bill of how for 5 years it kind of sets the stage. Every 6 months, this regulatory agenda. And now these dates are not real, like deadlines.
They're not real.
No, I mean, so this is what happens is, well, look, how many times we saw the speed limiters of last, and it would say like May of 2023, they're going to issue a notice of proposed rulemaking.
And then May would come and go.
Yeah, and all of these dates would fly by, and a lot of other publications would write and kind of act like they were deadlines, or this is the day this is coming, and that's just not how it works. They're kind of, it's very, very loose,
fluid
deadlines, sort of that. It's not like us down in the magazine when the magazine has to go to press today.
The one thing that I think would all like to see become a deadline and actually get pushed up is broker transparency, which is one of these issues that OIDA has been pushing for a number of years. We have been told time and time again, kind of what you were saying there, that it was coming. It's coming now. Just kidding. It'll be this time. It keeps getting kicked down the road. And unfortunately, I think that's the right word here. Yeah. With this regulatory agenda, it seems like it's been kicked down the road again. Am I being too...
No, I think that's
here?
fair. I mean, because, we don't know what they're going to have this proposal be. So maybe it'll end up being, even better. But regardless of whether it's better or not, it's going to take later before action occurs. So if we, just backing up on this whole issue, this really kind of hit back in May of 2020 when a bunch of truck drivers went to Washington, D.C. and protested this issue. If you remember back then, that was during Trump's first term in office toward the end of it. And it caught his attention. He went on Fox News and went on Twitter and, made posts and things that said he was going to do something about it. Of course, he wasn't in office much longer after that. Yep. Around that same time, OIDA petitioned FMCSA to do something to enforce these existing broker transparency regulations. And that's what's the most frustrating part of all of this is really that all that's trying to be done is, 5 years to get enforcement on something that's been on the books for 20 years.
Yeah. Oh, when you frame it like that. Yeah.
So, but anyways, fast forward where we're at. The previous administration did, approve a petition and move forward with a proposal. We got that done, right before the administration changed. The comments were delivered on that. I think there was like maybe 6,000 comments turned in, if I'm remembering correctly. And that was a proposal, and we expected there to be a final rule. But now what we got from this regulatory agenda is that they're pumping the brakes, and it looks like of May of next year, we will get a second proposal. So basically, they're going to, obviously they didn't like exactly everything in the previous proposal, so they're going to tweak it, and then we'll have a whole nother round of comments.
Which pushes the timeline.
Which pushes everything back.
And
again, I would encourage everybody for there to be thousands of comments again.
Yeah.
But that also makes
time
the process
read.
be longer.
Yep.
And so, 2027, I would think, is the earliest we're going to see a final rule at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean that sounds right, just based on everything, the way
I'm
we know the process to go.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be, sour here, but that's just the reality of it. And that's if they hit May 2026, because remember off of these, when I say that these are loose, it's not like they ever hit them early. Like they're always after. They're not before.
I'm reminded of the speed limiter when that came out in the regulatory agenda, and it was supposed to be, I think, December of 2023, maybe
something like that. I mean, they had multiple ones that they got kicked down the road.
Yeah. So these issues have a way of doing that, and hopefully sooner rather than later. The one thing that also popped to mind too, ELDs. Anybody out there hoping and wishing that the ELD mandate's going to go away? That's not the case. It's here to stay.
No.
But they are looking at, maybe some ways to add a little more flexibility. I guess, is that the right word?
Well, I think there's maybe some flexibility. I mean, I think one big issue is when they originally created the mandate, there was a self-certification for the manufacturers of the devices, and that is something that they are looking at of changing. If something we see maybe once every 3 or 4 months is FMCSA list a new thing of all of these manufacturers that have been revoked, and a lot of times it's for the same issues, and sometimes it's the same manufacturers having the same problems. So that's just a problem because drivers are having to invest in these products, and and they didn't even want them to begin with. And now they got to pay for them, and then because it's self-certified,
you got to replace them when
if they get the wrong one that goes out in 3 months, then they have to get a new one, and it's another new investment. So it's a very frustrating thing. The other part of it that I will say that I do think is safe on ELDs, while again, like you said, I don't think the whole regulation is going away, but there was concern that the older model engines that were kind of grandfathered in that don't have to have ELDs, that was going to go away. That doesn't look like that.
It's
Well, it's certain.
Uncertainty?
No.
Are you certain? Are you certain about that?
I think I'm certain.
Okay.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
At Truck Stop, we built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truck Stop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Dispatch, I picked up that load of steel, so I'm ready to roll.
Sounds good. Remember, we're getting paid by weight, so make sure to use a CAT scale.
I wouldn't weigh anywhere else.
Forget misaccuracy when you're truck on a CAT scale.
House products provide your diesel with total performance and protection. Use Diesel Defender for a full system cleaning. Start treatment early with Diesel Treat to prevent gelling all season and protect yourself from winter emergencies with Diesel Lifeline. Stay moving with House.
Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
We've got Tyson Fisher and Mark Schremmer of Landline Magazine to break down all the news in the trucking world. Next thing I want to talk about, Mark, there's another exemption request related to warning devices. Who's asking for this exemption and why?
I actually don't have my notes, the name of the company on this one, but basically to just tell you kind of what the exemption is off the top of my head, it started Aurora, an autonomous, trucking provider, had asked for this because they, obviously for their long-term plan, they want it to be eventually where there is no human in the vehicle, because they want to be able to run basically 24 hours back and forth from Houston to Dallas or whatever their route is, and they don't want to have to deal with those pesky humans.
Pesky humans.
So, but
always ruining everything.
But what's interesting about this warning device, exemption request is that there is some validity to it from the fact that right now the requirement is that if a tractor trailer needs to stop on the shoulder of a highway within 10 minutes, they have to get out and place these warning triangles, basically these cones you've probably, everybody, if they've ever paid attention, probably has driven by and seen that. And they actually do help. If you're going along, you see on the shoulder, you realize, okay, there's this tractor trailer,
especially when you have someone out of their rig, checking on their equipment.
Yeah. And so what the regulation and the people that Aurora and this latest company that has been that's asking for another exemption request here is one of the things they're saying is now, all these years later, they're very concerned about the safety of the drivers having to put these regulations out. But we know the real motivation from all of this is because nobody was complaining about this 10 years ago that these drivers were in danger of having to put out these cones.
What's changed, I wonder?
But now that they want driverless trucks on the road for their bottom line, now all of a sudden we need to protect those drivers, and we need to protect them so much we're going to keep them at home.
Exactly. And FMC has denied a very similar exemption, I think, last year.
Yeah, that was the one from Aurora.
So, right.
And again, I apologize, I don't have the name of the company off the top of my head, but that there's another one, basically a similar one that just again asking for the exemption. Now, meanwhile, with Aurora, that there's a lawsuit in the DC circuit on that, and I was actually just looking on that yesterday. The petitioner's brief keeps on getting extended. I think that's not going to come until sometime in October now. It was supposed to be this week, but I think maybe the fourth time in a row it has been extended, right at the deadline. So court system also moves slow.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
There you go. One more story to cover here, Tyson, and it deals with another common story that we've talked about quite a bit in recent years. This battle, not sure what the right word is, against misclassification. And we've got another chapter in this book, and it deals with a lawsuit. It deals with a verdict, settlement. Walk us through kind of what this means, because it does have potential, I guess, implications for, I think, the greater conversation.
So Mark just talked about the slow-moving mechanism that's the courtroom. This is almost a decade years old.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
10 years old. That's how long it's been going on. 2015 is when it was filed. So, this is between certain truck drivers in New Jersey and National Freight Inc., that are better known as NFI. 10-year dispute has ended with a $5.75 million settlement between the truck drivers and NFI. And so basically it's a classic misclassification lawsuit. Like, it hits all the notes that other previous misclassification notes has. The big one is that the main aspect that we see all the time is that the independent contractors are usually assigned routes that they don't have any control over. They have to be at the distribution center at a set time, and they have to be here at a set time. They had to use NFI's Qualcomm devices for tracking. You have to put the NFI logo on your truck. I mean, none of this. No autonomy whatsoever, but they're independent contractors. What made this case even stronger for the independent contractors is that NFI also has employee drivers, right? That did almost exactly the same thing as an independent contractor. It's just like, we're doing the exact same thing, yet one of us gets, the benefits of an employee and the other of us doesn't, So that was the central behind this case. And then, it still took 10 years to end this and all that. But it involves truck drivers. And again, NFI has a strong presence, with the ports over there, with Trader Joe's warehouse specifically. So, and again, this does not implicate that Trader Joe's is responsible for this. All they did was hire NFI. Say, ship my stuff, and then their hands are, they wash their hands of it. But it does bring up, a greater problem with misclassification misclassification that was brought up, to the mainstream attention several years ago with the California ports. I think it was either the LA Times or USA Today wrote a huge expose on the problem, and it grabbed the attention of lawmakers. Over in New Jersey, for example, I think it was STG Logistics. There was the state started to investigate them over, their misclassification of port drivers there. And then shortly after, STG just got rid of their independent contractor model, saying it's not even worth it anymore. It's like, which is, you can kind of, make your assumptions there on how guilty they probably were. But that's kind of what's going on. Again, I think there was only about 100 drivers involved with this one. So if you do the math after attorney fees, that's about $30,000 to $50,000 per driver, which if you don't follow class action lawsuits, that's a lot of money. For a class action. You usually get like a couple $100, for something like this.
I filled out the forms online for like the Facebook ones or whatever.
Did you get your 5 cents? I got mine the other day.
I'm still waiting.
Still waiting for yours? All right. But no, this is probably, I don't even know how many misclassification lawsuits I have written about and how many more I'm still following the docket on, waiting for them to end. Because as cut and dry as some of these seem, as this one here, it took 10 years. And so the question is, like, why are these, companies dragging it out? One could argue that, I think, a lot of trucking companies see more value. Like, there's a better return on investment on litigating this to death than to switch out their predatory independent contractor model. Exactly. And so, we're trying to, truck drivers are trying to do things in a courtroom, but it's not catching on because as many multi-million-dollar settlements that we have seen, and we have seen many multi-million-dollar settlements on misclassification suits, trucking companies, some bad actors, continue to do it anyway, knowing there's a lawsuit possibly on the horizon, but they continue to do it because, again, the money that they save on, pretty much screwing over independent contractors, it's greater than whatever settlement they might have to pay out in the,
which tells you a lot.
It tells you a whole lot, does it not?
If you're reading between the lines.
So, we're trying to do what they can at the courts. The courts aren't doing anything. Maybe this is somewhere where maybe legislation might be a different solution here. But again, this is what's happening in the courtroom. It's been happening for quite a long time, and we're just seeing more and more.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the question is, where does it end? And it sounds like it may not end because, as you point out, there is a benefit to these companies to continue doing this. So.
Well, and there is. And again, it's one of the, this industry is plagued with a lot of problems, and this is one that goes back quite a long time. It does come down to, there is no driver shortage, but, there's a turnover problem, right? Because when people come into this industry, they're promised, people
treated like dirt. And
they're promised like these huge bonuses and you can make, 6 figures a year.
Predatory.
And they come in and they get this NFI type of treatment, which is we're just going to make you an independent contractor, actually, and you're not going to get any of the benefits.
And tell them that because you could make even more money that way, and you're your own boss and all this.
Exactly right. And so, this is part of the problem, which is misclassification is a huge portion of the problem. And so, I don't know how you solve this. I think that's kind of why we may not have seen legislation because it's so nuanced and it's so complicated. It's like, how do you write legislation that doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater?
I can't see a legislator understanding this issue enough to put together, craft a bill that would solve these issues.
But it's certainly a problem. And as I've said repeatedly so far, it's like the fact that there are multi-million-dollar payouts and trucking companies continue to do it, they just think that, that's a good ROI. I'll do it. That's a problem.
Which again speaks volumes, I think, for sure. Tyson, Mark, I think we got all the news in.
AIPA.
That's all.
AIPA. Tyson Fisher of Landline Magazine, Mark Schremmer of Landline Magazine. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Mark, are you ready for the Monday Night Football game? Raider fan Mark Schremmer.
Yeah,
Charger fan Scott Thompson.
I'm gonna predict Chargers 21, Raiders 17.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
yeah.
20. It's going to be a close game. That'll be a good game.
Yeah.
Especially if the result is that. Yeah. Speaking as a Charger fan.
I won't like it, but that's what I think is going to happen.
You will honor the results.
Yes.
Well, we will see. We will be back on Speaking Terms next week. Mark, we appreciate your time. Tyson, thank you for your time as well.
Always a pleasure.
Ashley, that's our show for today.
It is.
And we'll head out to AIPA and pick up a new cabinet. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Today's episode of Trucking with OOIDA was brought to you by a dedicated team of people that includes Jim Fetzer, Tennille Flick, and Kim Boren.
You got thoughts? We'd love to hear them. You can call us at 1-800-324-6856 and leave us a message, or send us an email at podcast@ooida.com, and we might just include it on the show.